So, Brad, yesterday I sent you a text, a screenshot that I took from the television at my mother-in-law's house. Would you mind, for the folks at home, reading what that photograph says on the screenshot?
It says in some very nice script typography, 7 days until countdown to Christmas.
7 days until countdown to Christmas. Okay, so I need to give you context because this boggles my mind. So the Hallmark Channel that my mother-in-law loves, because it's a bunch of romance movies that are smoochy.
Yeah.
And it's always the big city girl going back to a small town. Anyway, their big spiel is Christmas. Christmas is their big, home for the holidays. Oh, you know what? Maybe the magic of Christmas will make me fall in love. And it's all that nonsense.
Yes.
And so, so clearly that's their big season, right? People tune into the Hallmark Channel for the Christmas romance movies. I get it. But they have a countdown to Christmas that ostensibly they started, I don't know, Halloween is when it starts?
Must be starting, if it's 7 days, they must be starting right on Halloween or November 1st.
Right. So, countdown to Christmas, I get it. I understand from a marketing perspective, you're getting people excited for your big holiday. But Brad, I swear to God, they have an on-screen chyron that's been running for the last 2 weeks on Hallmark Channel. And I know this because I go over and sit and talk to my in-laws and they always have Hallmark on. And Brad, it says 7 days until countdown to Christmas. They have a countdown, Brad, to a countdown.
It's a countdown. Let's get ready to get ready. Wow!
What are we supposed to take away from this from a marketing perspective? That they have a countdown to a countdown?
I think they know their audience. I think their audience is full of maybe a certain demographic of people who might be somewhat forgetful. And also people who have been looking forward to this all year long because they love, and by the way, I'm kind of one of the other people. I love those Hallmark Christmas movies. They are fantastic in their own special bizarreness. We started watching them as a family last year and just got transfixed by them. But people like that, I could see them getting excited by a countdown to a countdown.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Forgetfulness was not one of the cards that I was playing there in my own mind. Yeah, you're right. Forgetfulness. Of course, if you're named Betty and you're in your easy chair and you're 85, you might forget
your 80s,
that. Yeah. But also, people get really excited for. Anyway, oh my God, my favorite though with the Hallmark movies is it's always regional Canadian casting. You know what I mean? They seem to shoot a lot of them in Canada, and it's always like a stand-in. It's always a Canadian stand-in town. Clearly they've swapped out the streets to look like American street signs. I mean, not that they're vastly different, but you know what I mean. For people in Europe, they're very similar, but Canadians and Americans can tell the slight differences between, a mailbox or a fire hydrant or, the little public symbols of community. Anyway, 7 days to the countdown to Christmas, Brad. I couldn't take it, Brad.
Just wait until they actually have the countdown. You're going to have to watch some of those movies just so you can stay conversant.
Oh my God. I do. Last night, myself and another relative were sitting in the opposite easy chairs, and the in-laws stepped out of the room and were like, Becky's got to go with Roger. We were having such fun. Listen, the law practice can wait. Roger, how many times does Roger come along? We were giving the audio narrative of what was happening. And listen, the cake came out perfect. That's a sign. She was so worried about the cake and it came out perfect.
And the casting can be so marvelous too. There was one where a guy played an animated Jack Frost. In fact, the title I think was Jack Frost. He was a snowman that came to life.
A living Jack Frost, you're saying? Okay, yeah.
And he was a snowman. Oh no, it was Frosty, and he came to life. She made a wish and put a scarf around the snowman's neck, and then he came to life. This guy had a body that you would die for, but a face that looked like they slammed the door in it. Just this weird, awkward face. Every time he'd turn his head, you'd go, bah! But his body, he was yoked and chiseled, and he was incredible from the neck down.
That's what I mean about regional Canadian casting. It's like everybody that went to LA, tried it, didn't work out.
Yeah.
They go back to Toronto. Oh, look, the Hallmark movies are casting. You know what I mean? And so what's even funnier is like when Susan comes from the big city and she checks in at the B&B, right? Normally that would be a Hollywood day player, but because it's the Hallmark movies and because it's a regional Canadian casting, you play the part of Becky coming in from the big city, and I'll be the B&B owner, okay? And remember, everyone, I am a regional Canadian casting. They were forced legally to hire 4 people from Calgary, let's just say, right?
Hello there. My name is Becky Smalltowner, and I'd like to know, do you have my room ready?
Yes, ma'am, we do. Here is your key. It's like Pee Wee Herman doing the Paycheck Mr. Herman. It's lovely and bad. I love the B players that come in to do the one-liners.
Oh, don't forget.
Here is your sandwich. And you're like, oh, God.
We're midway through this one movie where the guy has a castle because, of course, he has a castle.
Sure.
And he was an older guy, you know, and I'm like, this is a really good-looking guy. He kind of looks like if somebody took Carrie Elway's someplace on a hot summer day, left him in the car, and he melted a little bit, and then this actor is what you'd get. He looks kind of like a melted Carrie Elways. Do you know who the actor was? Do you know who the actor was?
No.
Carrie Elways! Aging has not been good to him.
Well, and on that note, I'm going to say hello, everybody, and welcome to A Melting Comic Lab, the show about making comics.
And throwing stones when you've got a face like this and making a living from comics. I'm Brad Guigar, the author of the Webcomics Handbook and the creator of Evil Inc.
And I'm his friend Dave Kellett, who's reminding everybody that we did do a video comic lab for a while, and then the world told us, you know what? No, you two. How about just the voices? Just the voices, gang.
You got good faces for podcasting.
Yeah, exactly. I'm the cartoonist of Drive in Sheldon and the co-director of Stripped.
And this week's hour of Comics Advice is made possible by your support at patreon.com/comiclab. So Dave, let's talk comics.
Let's talk comics, my friend. And one last note that I had to tell you because it's just the cream on the top of everything is that 7 days until the countdown to Christmas was the Chiron on the screen. But Brad, the movie we were watching on the Hallmark Channel at that point was called A Royal Christmas Ballet. So you tell me, what the hell is the countdown for, Brad?
God. Yeah.
Brad, what is the countdown for? It's all lies. They sleep in a bed of lies. I have no idea what to do with the Hallmark Channel.
Also, what this means is that Hallmark has enough separate Christmas content that they can actually do 2 months of movies plus a 14-day countdown. How many movies is that they can, because they can't be repeating movies?
I mean, I don't know. I actually didn't ask my mother-in-law, but is the shtick of what the countdown to Christmas is that it's a new Christmas movie every day? Is that what
that's
the
what I
shtick
assume it is. What else could it be?
Well, because
what else do they have to offer?
What I was going to get at is if they've been doing that for 5 or 10 years, they must have 400 Christmas movies at this point, you know?
Easily.
So they probably just run them 24 hours a day, just like
you could have a 24-hour a day Hallmark Christmas channel, probably, you know, one of those things on Pluto TV where it just runs constantly. By the way, not for nothing, there is a channel on Pluto TV, Columbo episodes.
Oh God, Brad.
24/7. It's the most wonderfulest thing ever.
I listen, the one thing I love is one of the local LA channels around Thanksgiving does a Twilight Zone marathon where they play every Twilight Zone that was ever made. And by the way, they don't, because I know that there's some that were filmed on video and not on film. And you know this because when someone lights a match, it like flares out onto the screen. You know what I mean? You get that weird 1960s flare effect. Anyway, and so I get mad every year because I'm like, they didn't play this one. Anyway. But Brad, before we get into today's show, I've got my own countdown to excitement, which is we've got a fantastic sponsor for this week's Comic Lab that both Brad and I are huge supporters of and subscribers of, actually.
Yes.
So this is one of those things where I liked it so much I bought the company kind of an advertisement because Brad and I are huge fans of this week's sponsor.
Absolutely. And I was so excited to see the next issue come out. We are, of course, talking about Hogan's Alley magazine, which you can find over at hoganmag.com. Hogan singular, hoganmag.com. And of course, as always, I'll have a link over there in the show notes for you. if you'd like to check it out as well. But the most recent episode of Hogan's Alley has come out, and it's full of all kinds of great stuff. A lot of, if you're into comics like Dave and I, a lot of talking about old classic comics from a very academic point of view. And the one that, of course, because I am who I am, I really enjoyed. They had a piece in this episode. I keep calling it an episode in this issue of the Tijuana Bibles that makes the point that the Tijuana Bibles, which were, of course, this NSFW parody comic of syndicated comic strips.
Right.
They make the point that these were probably the first printed comic books, the Tijuana Bibles, because
probably, yeah,
they predate Famous Funnies, and there's nothing that they can point to like a publisher's records, because at this point it was 100% illegal not only to print them but to own them.
Yep.
But we do have news stories of people being arrested for having a copy of the Tijuana Bibles on their person, and these predate Famous Funnies. So we have a really good indication that Tijuana Bibles were the first printed comic books.
And what's nice about Hogan's Alley is it's an article length. Like, I remember reading that by a fireplace, and it was the perfect length. Like, I don't want to read 400 pages like a historical novelette about the existence of, but the kind of in-depth writing here by specialists from all over the worlds of cartooning and the editorial staff of Hogan's Alley is top-notch. The reporting is top-notch. Some of the photographs, the historical photographs and reproductions, I have never seen anywhere else. And I've done a lot. Remember, 2 master's degrees in comics. I've done a lot of research in the old archives. They have some stuff that you have never seen before from the worlds of animation, from the worlds of cartooning, from the worlds of editorial cartooning, comic strips, single panels. You name it. And what's great about Hogan's Alley, too, and one of the reasons why Brad and I are such eager subscribers, is each issue is chock-a-block with every angle on every type of cartooning you could want to know about. Yeah. So if the article on this page is not particularly of your interest, guess what? 4 billion other pages with 4 billion other articles, because it's chock-a-block. The thing is solid as heck. It has perfect binding. That's how big it is for a magazine. And it is gorgeously filled with a lot of in-depth and unique stuff on the history and ephemera of comics.
Yeah, it's wonderful stuff. And one of the ongoing themes of the show this year has been kind of disconnecting from social media, doing the social media challenge. Charge that phone on the other side of the bedroom, face down, and stop doom scrolling before bed. You'll get a better night's sleep. I'll tell you what right now is on my nightstand this very moment is the most recent copy of Hogan's Alley. I read a little bit until I'm drowsy, drop right off, have happy sleep, happy dreams. It really is. If you are like Dave and I, trying to stop the doom scrolling and stop that, especially before bedtime, do yourself a favor. Go over to hoganmag.com and pick up this most recent edition. Pick up a couple of the earlier editions as well. Stack those right on your nightstand. Put that phone away. I'm telling you, you're going to sleep better and happier. And this can be one of the ways that you achieve that.
And honestly, one of the highest praises Brad and I can give a thing is Brad and I will text one another like, hey, did you read this? Did you read that in Hogan's Alley? And it's great. So yes, 100%, both Brad and I, huge believers in it and subscribers ourselves. So head over to hoganmag.com and jump in for yourself. So today, Brad, the thing we wanted to dive in on is, and this is helpful for everybody, and so we always like to do it, is we want to go on a deep dive into Brad's Kickstarter numbers and his campaign, which recently wrapped. Which, by the way, congratulations to my friend Brad Guigar, kickstarting yet another fantastic Evil Link book. And that'll be coming out probably, I would imagine, by the end of the year, beginning of the year, Brad?
Yep. The whole thing now, since I did it this late, is I definitely have to get it off the books before December 31st or take the sting on the taxes. So things are moving ahead at a very, very healthy clip right now. Probably getting it printed by the end of the year and then getting it sent out January, February at the latest.
Wonderful. Well, so for those that might have missed it, and for those that just want a reminder, if you're listening a year ahead or 2 years ahead, what was the title of the book? What was the book about? What was the core? How many pages? What kind of book does it look like? Before we get into the Kickstarter numbers.
Yeah. This is a soft cover, 120-page full color book. It's an Evil Ink After Dark collection, so it's not safe for work. And it's a collection of both the Evil Ink storylines and the After Dark storylines that go with them. And it's the first time in a long time that I kickstarted just one book instead of like kickstarting 2 books, or like I've kickstarted 3 books at different times. You did
3 a couple years ago, yeah.
This was the first time I just focused in on one book and just let that kind of take the lead on the Kickstarter.
So logistically, by the time you are in production for this book, which you are now, what a much simpler path to walk than having to do 3 books at once, you know?
Yeah.
So there's that. And then also, Brad, we should mention to everyone that Brad had the potential to make less money this time because with intentionality, he limited and blocked off international shipping for this Kickstarter, right?
That was one of the first decisions I had to make. And it was a tough decision to make. And there was a couple of things that I did going into it. Number one, I did a quick recap of going out and finding like all of the recent changes in doing international shipping, whether that had to do with, tariffs that are kind of upside down right now, but also changes in VAT taxes and changes in the requirements for submitting your payments to those and what you have to do. And in the past, I actually, when Britain changed their VAT tax system, I originally went in and said, okay, I'll just sign in, create an account, and I'll submit my payments. I found it was literally impossible to do it.
I can co-sign that. That was an impenetrable website, and it
was the worst of the worst. And then for a while, they had it set up where if you didn't meet a certain threshold, you didn't have to remit payments. And that I don't know whether that was strictly Britain or whether that was the EU, but that was another one of the variables that I was dealing with that had changed, that they had taken these thresholds away. And so when I looked at all of that, and I looked at all of the headaches that shipping internationally was going to eventually cause me, and went back to my previous Kickstarter and totaled up all of the money that I had made through international orders. When I looked at my international orders, totaled them up, I came up with the number. And I asked myself, is it worth it to you to not have to deal with these headaches if it means your Kickstarter is that amount less? And I don't know why I'm dicking around. It was $2,000 or in that amount. Okay. If you can take, and if you can be okay with a Kickstarter that's $2,000 less, and it means that you don't have to go through all of these troubles, you don't have to go through all these hoops, potential pitfalls in terms of having, a tax problem internationally that you've got to deal with, and just also every now and again, I just got zonked on shipping charges and stuff. The shipping was ridiculous, and so I said, can you deal with having a Kickstarter that's $2,000 less if you don't have to deal with all that stuff? And the answer was a resounding yes. I will happily take $2,000 less on the Kickstarter if it means that I don't have to deal with all of those headaches.
Yeah, and so I want to pin this moment and talk about it for a second before we move on to other numbers, because this is an interesting and big thing, because for the better part of 20 years, Brad and I have been selling our books internationally. So this is not a small decision to say, potentially, Brad and I might have to walk away from a certain percentage of our audience that lives internationally. Now, we'd always sell them ebooks, so they're always welcome on the website. It's not like we're cutting them off as readers. But if it becomes financially unviable, or more importantly, administratively unviable to send books to Australia or the UK or the EU, Yeah, it's an interesting and hard decision. This was not one that was easy for Brad. I just want to speak on his behalf as his friend, is that it was not easy, but it just had gotten untenable in terms of all the paperwork and still not knowing if you're doing it right.
Yeah.
And books still not getting there a percentage of the time because some tax or some import thing hadn't been paid. And so UPS was requiring our reader to go down to the UPS office to pay some weird fee. And you're like, what's happening? So it's not something we do gladly. And I will tell you the other route that we have established, that like for my Sheldon books, I may, and I haven't decided yet, I may do what Brad just did on this Kickstarter because the volume is similar, right? But with Drive, which is more of a once every, 3 years kind of a book that seems to have a bigger audience, I might go the drop shipping route, which is where when my book is produced outside of the United States, what I will do is I will tell the printer, okay, put 98% of them on 2, 3, 4 pallets and ship them to the United States, right? But ship 4 boxes by truck across town to this drop shipper who will then drop ship them. You can Google the term drop shipping, who will ship them to around the world and pay tax from that country, which, by the way, has a subsidized postal rate.
Right.
So it doesn't have to get shipped twice, if you know what I mean. And professionally, they know and deal with VAT and all sorts of stuff all day long. It is literally all they do.
Right.
So they know how to handle it. And they charge me. And so I make less per book, but I get a percentage of my books into Australia, the UK, and EU, and all that sort of stuff. So that's option 2 in this scenario. Option 3 is, of course, to do it from shipping it from the US. But Brad and I have just said that's becoming increasingly untenable. So anyway, I just wanted to pin that moment and go deeper on that topic because it's a bigger development in both of our careers. You know,
and I actually, by the way, I don't think I ever told you this part of the story because you suggested drop shipping as well. And I mentioned that to my printer and they literally did not know what I was talking about.
Really?
They were like, well, if you could explain what drop shipping means, then perhaps we can. And I'm like, okay, so this is what I'm talking about.
There's other terms for it internationally, and I don't remember what they are.
I explained what it was because I said, I gotta imagine that maybe this is something that's come up previously.
Right.
And
you
have an outfit that you deal with, and they literally did not know what I was talking about. So
wow.
I don't want to dissuade anybody from doing it, but I will say that I did try that route and I came right up against a brick wall.
I'm sorry to hear that. So yeah, I mean, listen, there's always, when printing internationally, I've printed in Canada, I've printed in China, I've printed in, I think that's it, Canada and China. Anyway, Canada, China, and the US I've printed in. And when I printed in Canada, there was no bigger language gap than the Quebecois that I spoke with. God bless him. Oh my God. I wish Google Translate had worked better at that time because wow, were we miscommunicating. Anyway, and it was it was very, I don't know. I got a particularly gruff Quebecois guy. Anyway, but okay, so let's move on. Let's talk about the actual numbers, Brad. What are we looking at here?
So this is something that I wanted to share just because I don't think people share their actual numbers enough.
No.
And you learn so much from that. And the first thing we're going to talk about, first and foremost, is like, I'm going to tell you that my top referral was an update from a previous Kickstarter, which is not exactly news, but I'm going to tell you that it generated 6% of my pledges. And you're going to say 6% is not much. And that's because before we talk about any of this, we've got to address the elephant in the room. And that is when you do a Kickstarter, most like 60, 70, maybe 80% of your pledges comes from within the Kickstarter system.
And I want to caveat that. Yes, a heavy percentage comes from within the Kickstarter system, but my own personal hill that I'll die on there is that those still, even though they are wink coming from Kickstarter wink, a heavy percentage of those people are readers you have already independently captured. It's not like Kickstarter brought you those readers.
Right.
They're ones that you brought to Kickstarter, and somehow because Kickstarter's messaging is more effective than ours, they went in through a Kickstarter link rather than yours, is my thinking.
Right.
You know,
So that's a good thing to keep in mind. Yes.
Because I would argue, Brad, that the vast bulk of your backers in this campaign, like 95%, came from you, not from anyone else. You know what I mean? Right. And I hold that true with mine too. Exact same numbers, I would say, is that. So even though they come in through the Wink Kickstarter system, Wink, it's because they were already a previous backer of yours, and Kickstarter had their email or this or that, or they signed up for this or that. You know, it doesn't matter. They were already ones that you captured, I think.
But Kickstarter does an amazing job of discoverability and outreach. We'll put those both in the same category, and does a really good job of getting people motivated to come over and pledge. They do. So with that in mind, like, I'm going to be talking about 6% as if it's a big deal, but because it is, right? These are the ones that I can track. Also, one thing I did it really good last time on my previous Kickstarter. I did it to a granular level. Although, as I'm going to tell you, probably at the end of this conversation, I also shot myself in the foot, but I'll cover that in a minute. But to a granular level, I used those referral tags so that I could track better the efficacy of the different types of outreach that I was doing.
And for the benefit of the folks that don't know or don't remember, what are the referral tags, Brad?
So when you do a Kickstarter, there's a special place in your desktop that you can create a referral tag. And what that is, it's a special Kickstarter URL that you use and in a certain circumstance. For example, I had a referral tag that I labeled Blue Sky. And whenever I made an outreach on Blue Sky, I used that specific URL that Kickstarter could then track. And if it generated a pledge, they could say, oh, that pledge came from Blue Sky. Okay. So I did granular level referral tags such that I had maybe 3 or 4 different Patreon referral tags, depending on whether I mentioned it in the Patreon newsletter, in a Patreon post, in Patreon chat, et cetera, et cetera. So,
and by the way, just an extension of that, I know some people that have separate links for the top of a post and the bottom of the post to see what percentage of people, you read all the way through and then click the link. And so, you can get really granular.
It's fascinating. It's well worth your time to spend a little bit of time with those referral tags and then follow through and use them appropriately. Although, wait till the end of this whole conversation. I'll tell you the funny part of all that. But anyway, my number one non-Kickstarter referral source was an update to a previous Kickstarter, right? That's where I wrote an update on the Kickstarter from last year, which was Power Couple, and wrote an update to that Kickstarter that went out to all of the Kickstarter backers of that previous campaign. That generated a really solid 6% of my pledges and was the top earner, if you will, of all of the referrals that I was able to track. Now, within $8 of that was, what would you guess? What would you guess the number one non-Kickstarter campaign was?
I would have to guess Substack.
The Evil Inc. website.
Really? Okay.
Jaw-dropping. And again, we talk about... For the last 7 years since we've been doing this show, we've been telling people, you need a website. Don't let people tell you that websites are dead. Don't let people tell you that they don't do, a good traffic direction. Within $8 was the Evil Inc. Website. That was jaw-dropping for me. Within $100 of that was Patreon. That's no surprise. Patreon, those are my
I would have thought that'd be much higher up on the list, but keep going.
It is and isn't, because again, I split that into zones. So I think if you took all of the Patreon zones and put them together, it'd be a higher number.
Oh, I see.
You see what I mean? But Patreon, just generic going out in a Patreon post, that was another 6%, which was very, very good. The next one down is another previous Kickstarter update. That one would be for Evil Inc. After Dark Volume 2. And the next one down is another surprise. So I'm in the middle of the bathtub curve. And as we'll talk about this too, because it needs to be talked about. I was in the worst psychological space I've ever been in a Kickstarter.
No.
Well, you were
Bradley.
there for it.
I know, but I'm still hurt for my friend. Keep going.
Oh, you're the reason that I made it through. You're the reason I can laugh about
friendship. It's the perfect friendship. Okay, keep going.
So I was in the middle of the bathtub curve towards the end and coming up towards my last week. Now,
right.
I've used BackerKit in the past to fulfill my orders. It's like it's something you plug into. It doesn't do the work for you, but as I find out, it makes it way easier because I did BackerKit a while ago. Last year, I did not do BackerKit, and I cursed myself for it the entire time because I'm like, Kickstarter certainly by this time has a good, robust way of fulfilling orders. And as much as I love Kickstarter, holy cats, is their fulfillment backend system lacking. And I cursed myself for not using BackerKit, which I will be going back to this time. 110%. I don't even care what it costs. It's a great system. Anyway, since I had been doing business with BackerKit, they had a new thing called BackerKit Launch. And as soon as I launched my Kickstarter, they were in my email along. And by the way, BackerKit, I think is on the up and up. Along with BackerKit was all the other scummy, spammy, sleazy people that come out of the woodwork when you launch a Kickstarter, right? But along with all those was BackerKit saying, hey, we got this new thing called BackerKit Launch. And, here's how you could make it work for you. And I ignored it. And meanwhile, 3 weeks later, I'm in the middle of the bathtub curve. And they said, hey, we noticed that you're at the point at which you got about a week to go. This is also a good time to use BackerKit Launch. And they said, the email didn't read this way, but I'm paraphrasing. They said, not for nothing, we've got a mailing list of 1,300 of your former backers. We find that these emails that we sent out are very useful. And for $99, you can send out an email to that mailing list. Well, I usually turn up my nose at that kind of stuff, but I was in a spot where I really thought I was not where I wanted to be. And so I said, you know what? For $99, I'll do it. $99, Dave. That $99 came back 9 times. The total amount of money that came back through Patreon launch was $900.
Wow.
I got almost a 10 times return on investment for a $99.
And that again because of the referral tags, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So that BackerKit launch worked big time and was a real shot in the arm at a time when I needed it badly. So I will sing I already had decided, having worked with Kickstarter's backend system, that I was going to do BackerKit. Even before launch, I was going to do BackerKit. But after that, I'm like, well, listen, they've earned my loyalty now. I've almost got to do it. You got to stick with the one that brought you, right? So BackerKit launch was a big surprise. The next one down, just going down my list, Discord server for my Patreon. Now again, that's really? Patreon adjacent. So Discord server came up.
Yes, but that's very surprising to me that the Discord itself is where people linked out from. Yes. That's interesting.
And that came in for $790.
You know what that tells me? That tells me that there's a fair percentage of your audience that is not even looking at Patreon posts. They're only looking at the Discord server.
Now, this is a dirty little secret we never talk about. There's also something else going on there. So when you sign up and you get Discord access through a Patreon, they say, hey, here's your secret link. You can use this link to get into the Patreon or into the Discord, right?
Yeah.
Great. So what happens when you discontinue your Patreon? Well, nothing. You still have your Discord access.
Yeah, you can't rescind the link. Yeah, it's not great.
Unless the person goes in and I have done this just to weed it down a little bit. Unless the administrator goes in and knocks people off, you still have access to that community.
Right. You do. Right.
And sometimes I do just to keep it, just to keep that community full of people who are actually invested. I've got no problems doing that. I haven't done that in a long time on Evil Inc. After Dark. So as a result, and because of, I've got a few really great people in that Discord server that are constantly posting things and they're chatting and talking. So it's kind of a robust little community.
Right.
People, I think, check in regularly to see what people are posting. And as a result, that's also something else they got exposed to. So that Discord server, there's actually kind of there's a side benefit to keeping that going. Like, okay, they're not a Patreon back anymore, but they still have access to the Discord server. It's not great, but also not for nothing. It's no different than the free membership tier of your Patreon itself. Right. It's like another mailing list situation. So Discord came in for $790. Not bad. Next one down is another Kickstarter update. This one to the Safer Workbook under new management came in for $300. Coming in at $281. The ComicLab Patreon backers. We did a post
ComicLab.
on ComicLab, and
good job, ComicLab.
So once this is a part where I really, but I got to say it out loud. I had gotten into a real spot where I was like, I don't want to send out this message because I feel like I'm spamming people, right? And Dave had to take me literally by the shoulder several times during this Kickstarter. And the fact that he had to do it, usually this is me doing this for other people. By the way, headline, other people's problems are always more easier to solve than your own.
Yes, absolutely.
That's the moral of the story. Yes. But anyway, I'm like, Dave goes, have you sent out a message on the ComicLab Patreon? And I said, no, it's a not safe for work book. And I don't want to make anybody uncomfortable. Well, he says, well, listen, you don't have to, do the full, images and everything. But if you put out a little message saying, hey, I'm doing a Kickstarter, it's not safe for work. So if you're not into that, don't click the link. But here it is. That was a solid $281 for the Kickstarter from the ComicLab Patreon. But I had to be talked into it.
Well, I want to say, though, because this is important, remember in the past, we've talked about how Miyazaki, who is inarguably one of the greatest artists that's ever lived, and now in his 80s, it's still to this day has imposter syndrome of like, maybe someday I'll be good, right? Brad, in the midst of his Kickstarter, Miyazaki, myself, you, everyone you know, every artist you've ever read, we all have this form of imposter syndrome, and also, I don't want to bug anybody, even the readers that signed up for this. And so that's where a friendship is so important, because Brad's done it for me, by the way. You have to step in and be like, no, these people love you. They love your work. They want to back you. And you have to fight past your artistic imposter syndrome that tells you that you're worthless, when in fact, these people love you. They want to hear from you. They want to back you, as was evidenced by the fact that as soon as you posted that, within like an hour, didn't you have hundreds of dollars of new backers? I
had an instant response.
Yes,
an instant response.
So just know that that's a universal, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Hey, gang, if you're listening while you work, take a minute to stand and stretch.
And while you're doing that, we'll tell you why you should join us on Patreon.
Yeah, because when you do, you'll get hours and hours of podcasts that we've recorded just for backers.
And exclusive Patreon posts that go even deeper on ComicLab topics.
And you'll get access to our exclusive Discord server, a thriving community of professional cartoonists.
So you can support the show you love and get tons of actionable resources for your own cartooning.
And ho Nelly, if you want even more comics goodness in your life, check out the new drawing show that we're doing with our pal Kevin McShane over at wrongwayshow.com. That's wrongwayshow.com.
In each episode, we'll show you how to draw your favorite cartoon characters the wrong way.
Now, everybody, let's talk comics.
So the ComicLab Patreon backers came out in force, and then And I'm surprised it took me this long to get down this list to this, but one of my 2 social media outreaches that I used, Blue Sky, it came through pretty strongly with another $280 in pledges.
Wow, that's interesting because for me, on my last campaign, Blue Sky was the 3rd highest. That was 6% of my last campaign.
Yeah. Oh, is that right?
Yeah. So I mean, and who knows? This is where it's weird and intangible, and it could have been the days that I tweeted were happened to be a higher traffic time than when Brad did. Who knows? I mean, you never know when you're going to get somebody in different campaigns across 30 days. Some people I might reach via Kickstarter. Some people I might reach by Patreon. Some people might, like what I'm getting at is you got to do all of them because you never know which one's going to land. You know.
Well, and like for Blue Sky, I had used Buffer to schedule posts. Oh. So I had posts, I think, between 3 and 5 times a day mentioning the Kickstarter in completely different ways.
Right.
Like either an excerpt from the book or, a funny little anecdote or something like that. I had them. I had like carpet bombed Blue Sky with this, and it did a little bit better than like the last time I used Twitter and Instagram. It did a little bit better than those. Those, by the way, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, nothing. I didn't post. I didn't care. I took those out entirely.
And yet still had a successful campain, Brad.
So that's what people need to know. Fantastic campaign.
Yeah. Because remember, gang, the reason why I stopped doing Instagram and Facebook and Twitter there was no human that was clicking through. It was useless to me. I don't remember what the numbers were, but I'm going to ballpark it. I think it was like 40,000 Instagram followers, 40,000 people, Brad. That's a stadium. That's a stadium, right? Do you remember? It was like 1 person, 2 people in that last campaign that I did Instagram. It was useless.
We figured out the percentage and it had 5 zeros.
A lot of zeros.
I remember that way. It was 0.00009 or something.
Whatever it was. Yeah. So, it was terrible. So a big agreement from me on that. Yeah.
So Blue Sky performed better than I thought it would, but not as great as I had hoped. Okay. Let's put it that way. Especially for the carpet bombing I was doing. However, and again, an asterisk to the end of the conversation there. After that, we'll go through relatively quickly because there's no big surprises. Another Kickstarter update comes in at 180. The Patreon newsletter comes in at 180. That's significant in that went out to not only paid Patreon backers, but people in the free membership tier.
Oh, so that's a good distinction.
That was me trying to leverage that free membership tier. And it looked like it did pretty well. The web ring that I launched at the beginning of the year.
Spice Rack.
Yep. So the whole idea there was everybody who's in Spice Rack has to have a website. Once as you get to be in the promo box for a week. It just so happened that my week came up during this Kickstarter campaign.
Oh, great.
So that came in for
but pretty low,
about $158. What's that?
I said, but comparatively low. That's interesting. What is your read on that?
It's better than nothing. Nowhere's near what I was hoping for.
Right.
Yeah.
Can I tell you my quick read on that is that advertising box is probably good to get people interested in new comics to come to your site. Maybe not so good in getting longtime readers to your Kickstarter or your Patreon. You know what I mean? For that, your website has to do the work, not the Spice Rack.
So Spice Rack might be good for bringing people to the website, but then your website's got to do the job. It's like a funnel.
It's a funnel. Yes, exactly.
So
that was not the right tool, but it still brought in some money. So, by the way, just separate from everything, the name Spice Rack is very well done. Very well done.
I wish I could claim ownership of that, but that was not my idea. That was Garth. But it was a beautiful idea.
It's very well done. I think that's. I always appreciate a good copywriting turn, and that's a good copywriting turn. So anyway, keep going.
I did a former Patreon backer outreach. So if you go into Audience Manager, you can click on everybody that has either canceled or had declined cards.
Oh.
And if they have their notification preferences set that they allow you to reach out to them, you can send a message to those people, which I did. that resulted in another $118 of pledges.
Can I pause you for a second? Did
Yeah.
that message go out specifically to those people in that sub diagram? Or, right, so it didn't go out to everybody, only the people in the past that had previously been backers that still had their notifications turned on.
Yep.
Wow.
And so I could say, hey, I know that you've been a backer in the past. I appreciate that so much. I'm doing something that you might be interested in. Here it is. If you want to check it out, go check it out.
That's brilliant. I need to do that for my next campaign.
Former backer outreach is a big one. That's
because they clearly have expressed interest. They cracked the wallet for you.
Yes.
They wanted to back you. And let's be honest, between you, me, and the wall, most of them, I would say the vast majority of them, probably had to back out for financial reasons at the time, but still love you. And some people, a lot of people will swing for a book that might not swing for continuing Patreon. Anyway, that's a great idea.
It's a one-time spend as opposed to sign up for another subscription.
Yep.
Next one down was 2 Substack outreaches. The Substack, just Substack using different Substack posts, or I should say notes. And the Substack newsletter, which was Evil Inc. Newsletter. I put a message out on that. That generated another, the next, I mean, we're getting down into like $75 here.
Right.
Not quite as interesting. The next one down was another update to former Kickstarter backers. This one for a book called Evil Inc. Volume 9. And then it comes down to, just little one pledge deals like the Patreon chat generated one. Newevilbook.com, that phrase, that URL generated 2 pledges. And then what you see is direct traffic, no referral.
Right.
Which is always vexing for a Kickstarter, right? And I had 5% of my pledges, $1,149, was direct traffic, no referral. So I actually went and looked up what that means because it doesn't do us any good, right? What do you mean direct traffic? Nobody's actually typing in that long URL string. That's ridiculous. So here's what I found. These things could be under the category of direct traffic. Bookmarked or saved links. Okay, that's feasible,
that's fair.
I guess.
Yeah.
More likely, private browsing or tracking preventing, like incognito mode on Chrome.
Or people that use a, whatchamacallit, when they go around the...
VPN?
Yes. VPN, thank you, yes.
So that's possible. Copied links, if someone copies your URL from social media and pastes it in their browser, it just sees it as direct. Okay. Non-web app clicks. Basically, if they clicked on Twitter, it might not keep that referral tag.
Sure.
And here's the one that made me smack my forehead. Shortened URLs without tags. If someone shares your Kickstarter with a plain link or a URL shortener, that won't preserve the referral tags, and that's counted as direct. Well, what's a URL shortener?
Like a Bitly or one of those things, right?
Yeah. Or Buff, that buffer.com uses. You remember I was telling you that I carpet bombed Blue Sky using Buffer to, Buffer, I have it set up as and you can turn it off, but I didn't think anything of it as I was doing it. I have it set up to always shorten my URLs to give me more characters to deal with. And by doing that, I might have done better on Blue Sky than I thought, because all of those carpet bombed Blue Sky posts were shortened by Buffers doing what I told it to do, but that might have taken the referral tags off.
I'm going to give advice to you and to our listeners on this, actually, is that I would in general recommend turning off URL shorteners on Buffer or any sort of posting technology that you use. And I'll tell you why. All of us have gotten savvy to how suspicious the internet can be, and giving people the ability to see the URL that they are going to is not a small consideration for a chunk of your reading population. So I would highly recommend, both to my friend Brad and to everyone listening, that you turn off URL shorteners. You just got to write tighter tweets, basically. Yeah. And so what? You'll lose 20 characters, 15 characters. It doesn't matter. Turn off the URL shorteners. It doesn't help you in the long run with your readers.
No, I think that's good advice. It's advice I co-sign 100%.
Yeah, in this case,
I would have a lot better. Like that's a whole lot of pledges that I really can't track. Blue Sky might have done better than I thought it was, but then again, I also use that for a number of different things. So who knows?
But just in general, if your Blue Sky account, Brad, uses full length URLs, honest to God, over time it becomes a source that people can trust more. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's not just for today, and it's not just for this Kickstarter campaign. It's like, oh yeah, Brad puts the full URLs. I can see where I'm going. I will click that thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. Whereas if I have somebody who's constantly using, I don't know, those weird 6 figure count URL links where you're like, what am I going to? What is this? Yeah. It's the equivalent of like scanning a QR code where you're like, where am I going? What is this thing going to do?
I know. I always laugh at myself, but I'm always a little bit suspicious of QR codes because I don't know what's going to happen next.
Right. And so that's why for any of us that have lived online long enough, you're like, I don't know if I trust this. So I put the full URLs. Anyway, so keep going. I just want to pause at that thought.
That's the end of the list there. That's what I had for my referral tags. In general, it coming into the end of the Kickstarter that last week, that was again where I really needed my friend Dave Kellett to say, have you sent out one more update? And I was like, no, I was going to send one in the beginning. And you also had to remind me to do one in the middle because I was going to do one in the beginning and the end. And we were in the middle, and you said, send out another group of updates. And I said, I can only send 2. Because otherwise I'll be spamming and you go, no, just these are people that love you. Come on, send out some updates. So now I've got it written down in my Kickstarter log. Send out updates in the beginning, the middle, and the end. I was coming up to the end, but I was gonna, I wasn't, there was some I was gonna, some that I wasn't gonna. And Dave actually had me talked into sending out like a couple updates to a couple of these, 2 in the same, like in the same zone, like one at the end of the week, and then one on the last day.
Yes.
So, and it's like, I can't do that. I just sent him out in the beginning of the week. He says, nobody's keeping track of this stuff. And if they are, if that one person that gets upset, they weren't going to buy a book anyway. Everybody else is fine with it. So thank God you did that, because I had one of the strongest closing weeks I ever had in a Kickstarter. And it's because I listened to your advice about, and it was all updates. It didn't come from hardly any other source. It wasn't Blue Sky or Substack or anything. It was all through these updates.
And I want to clarify what I mean by these updates. So when I did a Kickstarter for Anatomy of Dogs, right? And then prior to that, I did Drive Act 4. And prior to that, I did Anatomy of Dinosaurs. So in my upcoming book in a few months, when I'm kickstarting it, not only am I updating to the current backers of the current Kickstarter that I'm actively doing, but I'll go back out to Dinos and then to Drive and then to Anatomy of Dogs. And I'll say, hey, I've got a new Kickstarter going. Yeah. Because first of all, it's not a perfect Venn diagram. They're not all the same people. If they don't want to get messaged, Kickstarter makes it very easy to turn off that kind of messaging.
Yes.
And most likely, the average person sees your message out there in line at the grocery store, and not the time to do it. They go, but they mean to do it when they get home, but then their mother called, so they can't do it right then, and they forget, right? So then your next message comes out a week later. Oh, nope, still not the good time. I got to take the kids to school, right? Oh, no, can't do it now. So then you send out a third one in the last final days, and so you have to go out to these multiple sources multiple times to have them work. And I'm a big believer in that especially past Kickstarter campaigns.
Yes.
Because these people have their credit card and their address already in the Kickstarter system. They have already successfully gotten a book from Brad Guigar. They know what his quality levels are and that he delivers. These are people that are like sold on the whole idea. They just need more reminders, and it's okay to reach out to them to say, hey gang, I'm kickstarting. I'm Brad Guigar, and aren't I great?
Yeah. No, and that's and like I said, I followed that advice and had one of my best closing weeks ever. And then the one thing I want to just put a button on it with is that you had an idea. You go, as we're on the last day or in the last 48 hours, you had a great idea. You said, hey, do you want to live stream the last hour of your Kickstarter campaign? And I go, yeah, I kind of do. So
Yeah.
we actually got on and live streamed the last 60 minutes of the campaign, watched it go down in real time, and absolutely had a ball because you're all kind of nervous anyway.
Yeah.
And so what better situation than to have your friend there, kind of laughing and joking. And we had a lot of people from ComicLab, a lot of Evil Link fans show up in the chat, and we had a wonderful conversation, as a matter of fact. Just sat there and chatted the hour away and watched this thing come to its natural conclusion.
And we accidentally gamified it because, and this is the honest to God truth, I have a real kind of OCD for final numbers of Kickstarter being nice round numbers, or at least pleasing numbers. And my stupid brain has weird ways of describing what a pleasing number is. Like if it's 3 threes in a row, I find that very pleasing. Or if it's, $25,000 and it's equal at 000, that's very pleasing. So anyway, what I'm getting at is my mind likes numerically pleasing numbers. And I said that in the live stream. And what ended up happening, Brad, is I think some people, in fact, we know this is the case. Yeah. They upped their pledge to make the number round or nicer or more pleasant. And I was like, hot damn, we accidentally gamified it based on Dave Kellett's own weird brain,
Yeah, it was so fun. And like you said, we had just fun chats. There was people, pitching, questions and topics to talk about. And gosh, it was just amazing. And just in case you're thinking about this for your own Kickstarter, late pledges work. This is the first time I've ever had access. Late pledges came out as my previous Kickstarter was already rolling, so I didn't get a chance to use it then. So I definitely used it now. And since that Kickstarter has closed, I've made an extra $2,500 or thereabouts.
Have you really?
Like it has kept going and going. It's just amazing.
Biscuits and gravy, $2,500, Brad?
Yeah, 2,500 easily.
Bradley J. Geiger, that's fantastic. I've never had a post campaign that big.
Well, we always on previous shows, we always were so vexed by these people who, in the minute after the Kickstarter closes, they go, "Oh, I just found out about it now.
I just missed it." Yeah.
And it's like, now you can and Kickstarter actually suggests you do this. You bump that pledge up by a couple of bucks so that you're not actually, making, you're not punishing
you're
the
reverse
people that
penalizing
were there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So you're not punishing those people who were there for the event. So these people have to pay a little bit more, which is only fair. It's not punitive, but it's a little more. And you get to enjoy that situation. And so many of these people, I know it still tracks it. A lot of these people had come over from some of the stuff that I was doing all month long. They just finally opened the email. They had an email sitting in their inbox for a month, and they finally opened it and came over and made a late pledge. Late pledges are one of the best things Kickstarter's ever done.
They're great. Well, Brad, honest to God, first of all, thank you for sharing all of this with everyone, and congratulations on a wonderful campaign. I can't wait to see the book. And any final thoughts that you have, little capstone thoughts about what you will do differently this next campaign? Because, by the way, for folks listening at home, Brad also said you want to do another one in a much shorter clip than you have in the past, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, this was kind of an eye opener that I even though I've said in the past I want to do 2 Kickstarters, maybe 3 a year, I really have to. I mean, there's no 2 ways about it. I have to start doing this. Right. So I have to make it a 100% plan that as soon as this Kickstarter is in and I'm sending it out, I need to start working on a Q1, Q2 Kickstarter and put myself in the position. It's all going to be whether I can pull this one off, because I've always resisted doing one in the second half of the year because I've been terrified of tax problems, carrying that money over into the next tax year. So if I can, and this one, we're in October right now. If I can pull this off, that'll give me the confidence that, okay, I think it's okay to do a September Kickstarter again, something like that. But I definitely have to do 2 Kickstarters. There's no 2 ways around it.
Yeah, and in case it helps future Brad Geiger, the way I figured out to do it that keeps all the money in the same tax year of the Kickstarter itself is to have one book ready for Comic-Con, and I know you don't go to Comic-Con, and one book ready for Christmas sales. And somehow that split of the year, one for Comic-Con, one for Christmas, you're keeping all the Kickstarter money in the calendar year itself. And you have 2 big events that the book is ready for. And so now that the kids are out of the house in the years to come, you might want to come visit your pal Dave at Comic-Con with a new book every year, you know?
It's not off the table. Let's put it that way.
Good.
But
hooray.
But it's something, so those are the 2 things that I think I would change is that I definitely need to start thinking about my business as a 2 Kickstarter calendar year. And also I've got it in my Kickstarter. I've got a document that I pull up when I'm about to do a Kickstarter that's like a checklist.
Yes,
and I've
good.
added, first week update, mid update and last week update.
Yep, great.
3 times out. So I don't have to be in that mental spot again.
Well, and listen, this has dominated the show, which is fine. But one last thought is, definitely, if folks listening at home, capture what worked and what didn't work. Write it down. You think you're going to remember it, you will not. By the time the next Kickstarter comes around, you will not remember. Write down what worked. Write down specifically what you did, how you said it, the way you did it, the graphics that you did it. Write down where you went out to, how frequently you went out to, what worked, what didn't work, and most importantly, what you want to do differently for the next one so that you can experiment. Because writing it down makes it more scientific. You can do A/B testing. You can do all sorts of stuff. And so also, Brad doing 2 a year, I will just say this for the benefit of my friend, you will get better quickly when you're doing 2 a year versus 1 every year to 18 months, you know?
Well, yeah.
And all the emails won't go stale. And by that, I mean, people change their emails, not a lot, but a percentage. Every time you kickstart, 1 to 5% have changed their emails. But if you're doing it more frequently, you're less likely to have a high percentage of your population having a new email, so you can reach them easier. So anyway, you're going to find great success doing 2 a year, I think, Brad. But Brad, before we go out on the show, I do have one important update I want to add on to everybody. You've heard me talk about it before on the show, the Alaska Comics Camp. It is one of my favorite things in comics. And we're honestly, if you are feeling both at the beginning of your career, the middle of your career, the end of your career, whether you would like more social outings, whether you want more learning possibilities, whether you want to have 40 instant new friends in comics, the Alaska Comics Camp is for you. I love it so much. It is a 4 to 5 day trip up to Juneau, Alaska, where we camp out in the woods, just outside, about 30 miles outside of Juneau, run by some of the warmest, most wonderful people you could ever want to meet. Populated by cartoonists from all over the world. There have been cartoonists from Japan, from Puerto Rico, from Mexico, from Canada, from the U.S., and your pal Dave Kellett. And someday in the future, if I can convince him to go, your pal Brad Geiger will be there. Anyway, here's what I want you to do. The URL is too long, but Google Alaska Comics Camp. Do a Boolean search with quotes around it if you want. Regardless, nothing else will come up because how many Alaska Comics Camps are there?
Right.
The applications are open now. Put in your application. There are, by the way, scholarships. So if you're finding that you can't afford it, there are scholarships to go where they will partially fund it for younger cartoonists or cartoonists that could use it this year. And we all have a year where we could use it, you know. So Google Alaska Comics Camp, get in your application, and I will see you coming up in May 2026 in Juneau, Alaska.
Fantastic. And look for that in the show notes as well. We'll make sure that there's a link in the show notes for you to click.
Oh, see, that's where Brad is he's just excellent. He's just an
on
excellent
top
guy.
of this stuff. With that, we'll tell you that you've been listening to ComicLab, the show about making comics and making a living from comics.
Your hosts have been my friend Brad Geiger, who I'm very proud of for his excellent Kickstarter campaign. He's the editor of webcomics.com and the creator of Evil Inc. at evilcomic.com. And he's the handsome co-host of the new drawing show that everyone's talking about over at wrongwayshow.com.
And my friend who got me through a pretty tough 30 days, co-director of the comics documentary Stripped, and the cartoonist of Sheldon at sheldoncomics.com and Drive at drivecomic.com, and another handsome co-host of the new drawing show at wrongwayshow.com, along with the wonderfully handsome Kevin McShane.
And for everyone that has been worried about Brad's anxiety and sort of self-hatred during the 30 days, I got to tell you the good news, they're starting to descend again. So the ComicLab theme song is used with permission from Andy Creighton at theworldrecord.net. And this episode was edited by the ever-wonderful Matt Woodard of Woodsong Productions over at www.woodsong.media. You're still chuckling at it?
If you love ComicLab, you can rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts, and you may hear your review featured on a future episode. And don't forget to give us a 5-star review on Spotify, where we are burning up the podcast chart.
And ComicLab is made possible by your support at patreon.com/ComicLab. And because we thank you so much for that support, I'm going to say it twice, patreon.com/I regret that joke.
Well, one thing I've learned through this show is that I always do a countdown to Halloween on my socials. Yes. Now I can actually start in August and do a countdown to the countdown of Halloween.
Oh, Brad, take a page out of the Hallmark marketing team's book. Yes. I mean, but also, at what point is it just madness? Like, does eventually Hallmark have a countdown to the countdown to the countdown? Like, at what point does it become recursive and just like, you know, when a mathematician goes bonkers? There's like 40 movies of mathematicians go bonkers.
Yeah.
This is what it feels like for the Hallmark marketing team. I feel like they've just gone bonkers.
Well, should we be surprised that this is all coming from Hallmark? These are the people that gave us Sweetest Day and Friendship Day. And you know, take your dog to work day. They're the kings and queens of coming up with ridiculous marketing ideas.
It's true. The entire Hallmark business model is basically like, hey, how can we capitalism this?
Got a friendship there? I got a price tag.